Welcome back. Hello. Hi. Hello. Welcome. Hi there. Lovely Sharla, I can see you already. Hello to everyone just joining. Good afternoon. Hi. We're shortly lovely Charlotte of the Fertility Kitchen in just a moment. So she's just connecting. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. There she is. Oh, Charlotte, how are you? How are you?
I'm brilliant, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful, very well, thank you. In my teepee, I actually don't want to leave here. I've decided this actually feels like quite a good place.
It looks super cozy.
It is, it is. I don't want to come out. How are you, my darling? How are you?
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. Having a great
Wonderful.
day.
Good. I'm glad. Very wonderful. So thank you, Sharla, for coming on to join me this afternoon. I'm really grateful. I'm sure there's lots of questions and people really interested in what you can share with us today. But first of all, just tell me a little bit about yourself, if I may ask you, your journey into motherhood and your inspiration behind setting up, creating, if you like, your fertility kitchen.
Absolutely. So I guess it all kind of stemmed from my personal experience of infertility and IVF. So kind of taking it down to a nutshell, my fertility journey spanned 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, I conceived my two children via IVF.
Mm-hmm.
So my first kind of pregnancy came after 3 years of trying, and that was ended up in IVF, and I had my little boy George, who's actually now 8, so a long time ago now. But my kind of journey led me on a path to wellness, really. I started off having acupuncture.
Mm-hmm.
That was like massively profound for me, and that led to me to retrain in acupuncture. So I used to be a fashion buyer, so it was a big kind of...
Wow, big change.
Exactly. But acupuncture was brilliant, trained in that, specialised from the beginning in fertility. And then between my first and second baby, I just got more and more interested in wellness, took me down the nutrition route, started making lots of changes to my diet, which had a profound impact on me. And it really kind of brought home the healing power of food. So, and that was so amazing to me that I then decided to go and train in nutrition, and then that led to the fertility kitchen. So I'd kind of been pondering everything that I would have found useful on my journey, and the things that I couldn't find. So when I was trying to conceive, I really just wanted a decent cookbook, some great resources telling me what to eat, and just having the confidence to know that what I was cooking was really going to positively affect my fertility. And so I started to develop my own recipes because there wasn't anything out there, and share them via the fertility kitchen. So now I support clients one-to-one with nutrition, and I also create and share a lot of recipes, which I share on Instagram and on my website. And the whole kind of ethos behind them is that they're really nutrient dense, they're really supportive for fertility, and that women can just go and easily cook from them, knowing that they're going to help them and not hinder them, really. So it's kind of like providing things that weren't there for me, because there was tons and tons of books out there on, well, I say tons, there was a couple of books on fertility nutrition, saying, you know, they're very text-driven kind of paperback books, pretty boring or heavy going for some people, and just telling you, you need this nutrient, you need that nutrient, but nothing that really gave you practical advice or showed you how to translate that in the kitchen. So kind of what I'm doing with the fertility kitchen.
And what's incredible is that it's very important to realize just how much our nutrition does affect our body, particularly when trying to conceive or dealing with day-to-day stresses. It's incredible the effect that food has on our well-being.
Absolutely. In fact, I only had someone yesterday come around the house to quote for some home work at my house, and he asked me what I do, and I was telling him, and he was like, "Oh, well, can what you eat really affect your fertility?" And that's a question I get asked quite a lot, and it's a real surprise for me, because I think, well, how can it not? Because everything that you eat obviously builds every single cell in your body. So if you're not eating the right things, or you're missing out on key nutrients, then your body isn't going to function as best it can.
So if we have, say, no idea, going back to the basics, if we're looking for real support on, say maybe we are stress eating, sometimes some of us comfort eat, obviously, when we're going through stress, or we feel a bit depressed or low, whatever, maybe the diet sometimes isn't that perfect, incredible, 100% wellness that it should be. That's also okay, isn't it? But it's just important to find that balance, and ways in which we can help find that balance, which if you could share with us.
Of course, yeah. So it's not about the perfect diet, because that just doesn't exist, and everyone's what worked really well for one person isn't going to work quite so well for another. So that's one thing to always bear in mind, that there isn't a perfect diet, but also to be kind to yourself. And if you make changes to your diet, it's about making small consistent changes and celebrating the wins, and like I said, being kind. I have these fertility kind of food habits that I like to share with my clients. And one of them is the 80-20 rule, which some people might already be familiar with. But that is a really great way to achieve balance in your eating, because it's about eating as well as you can 80% of the time, and then allowing yourself to eat imperfectly 20% of the time. And that kind of helps you to achieve balance. And also, when you do then decide to pick something that...
Oh, I've just lost you a little bit. Charlotte. Oh, there you are. You're back. There you go. Did you lose me? I don't know if it's yours or mine. Don't worry, you're there. You're back.
Yeah, so it's about when you do decide to indulge.
Yes.
Really making that quite a nice experience. So rather than stuffing something down in front of the telly, it's like, oh, I'm going to have this piece of cake, I'm going to sit down with a cup of tea and really, really enjoy that.
Yes.
And don't, feel guilty about it. Just enjoy it, because there's so much more to food than just nourishment of your body. It's also about social connection and things like that. So it's important that you're enjoying yourself and that you don't feel, hugely restricted. And then another way to help that is, like I said earlier, about the kind of celebrating the small things. So if you have to open the diet quite dramatically, so if you're potentially eating a standard British diet, which might be cereal and toast and orange juice for breakfast, maybe a sandwich and crisps at lunch, and then a pasta-based dinner, that kind of diet, to me, it's like, okay, we've got to make quite a few changes here. So focus on making one change for 1 week, or however long, maybe 2 weeks, really getting that under your belt before you then decide to move on to another change, because you don't have to tackle everything at once. And then over time, you're going to have made huge changes, but it's going to be consistent and also sustainable. Because that's the other thing. If you kind of do too much at once, you can get a bit overwhelmed and then end up going back to square one. Whereas if you're saying, right, okay, this week I really am just going to focus on eating 2 extra portions of vegetables with each meal. And then once you've kind of got used to that, and that's become, a normal way of cooking for you, then think, okay, I'm now going to make the next change. And that can really be quite supportive.
Yeah, that's lovely. And if we're thinking about sort of, like you say, those little changes, towards a breakfast, a lunch or a dinner, could you help us with maybe suggestions of what we could have maybe in those meals?
Sure, yeah. So I think the biggest challenge for a lot of people is breakfast, because we're focused on the whole American breakfast, or the kind of cereal, toast, granola, and all of that kind of stuff is very sort of nutrient poor, really. So if you compared a plate of vegetables to a bowl of cereal, you're going to get so much more from the vegetables than you are from the cereal. So it's about sort of challenging your perception of what a breakfast is. So it doesn't have to be this kind of sweet thing. And actually, in fact, things like eggs are going to sustain you far better. And research shows that if you have something more savoury like eggs for breakfast, you'll then it kind of sets the scene for the day, and you're then less likely to overeat during the day.
Yes.
So I would say, if you can, start thinking about having savoury breakfasts. And it can even be, which is a bit of a sort of mind-blown kind of thing to some of my clients, but I suggest maybe having leftovers for breakfast. So
that's interesting.
You transition to over time, but that way you can get veg in as well.
That's interesting.
But you could start with egg on toast and a big portion of spinach or watercress or rocket on the side, maybe a little bit of avocado. So that's not too
nice.
And it's not that hard to make either. A lot of my clients say, "Oh, it would take too long to have eggs for breakfast," but in fact, it takes a couple of minutes to scramble an egg, really.
Yeah.
The other, you are massively pushed for time, then you could boil an egg the night before, peel it, and it's ready, and then you can just mash it on toast. So
that's a good idea. That's a really good idea too. And smoothies, do you have any idea with smoothies? Do you ever have those, or for people?
Smoothies, I think they're much more. I favour them in summer over winter, just because of the weather and everything. But green smoothies are a bit better because they're going to be, the balance will be tipped in favour of vegetables. So the problem that kind of arises with smoothies is that people very much put in all the sweet fruit, and it tends to be quite simple stuff. So it might be pineapple, mango, banana. Delicious, but very high sugar. Go for a savoury kind of smoothie. And again, that might be challenging your taste buds a bit, but think about how you can make that a little bit tastier. So I really like to add a little bit of ginger, maybe some lime. Nice. And then if you're adding that in, you're much more likely to have a green smoothie than a really sweet smoothie. So maybe some spinach. You could put a little bit of vanilla extract or something in there just to give that sweetness.
That's a nice idea.
But and then choose a sort of protein-rich milk. So maybe if you can tolerate dairy, have a full-fat milk. Otherwise, maybe have coconut milk and then add in some protein. So maybe a little bit of protein powder or some hemp seeds. I like to add in nuts and seeds as well. So if that's going to be your breakfast, you might want to have a boiled egg alongside, just to make sure you're boosting up your protein. And then lunchtime, I would think we'll go for cook once, eat twice philosophy. So whatever you have for dinner, you could have make double and then have leftovers for lunch.
Yep.
And then just serve it.
I love that idea.
Yeah, well, it just makes life a lot easier.
Yeah.
And if you add in, say you had I don't know, carrot and spinach and broccoli with your dinner, then think about what different veg you can then add in for the leftovers next day, so that you're not having the same veg all the time, because we're all really guilty of falling into that trap of having the same veg all the time because it's convenient, because we like it. But if you are eating the same veggies all the time, or the same foods every day, then you're really limiting your exposure to a wide range of nutrition.
Yeah, I think it's just very interestingly on that note that you said about the veggies. I now have, since Corona, I have Odd Box come every week. And what I do is I don't look at what they're going to send me, because I try not to. I know otherwise I'll just go for my classics. So they send me things and I'm like, I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's quite good.
So I put it whole in the oven. I just see what happens. I'm just not sure. It's just one of those. But that's sort of like you say, going back to that key of, maybe just going a bit out of the comfort zone a bit, trying other things.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a veg box is a really good way of doing that, because they send you stuff that you'd never normally pick, like celeriac or fennel or something like that. But it's quite nice to make different things and kind of push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And Google it and you'll easily find something to do with it as well. So things don't have to be complicated. Like with root, for example, I've got this garlic salt. It's really tasty. Cube up root veg, whatever I've got. Put a little bit of coconut oil in, and I go for the flavourless one because I don't want the coconut flavour. And grind a load of this garlic salt on and roast it for about 25 minutes, and it's delicious.
Yeah, nice idea.
Easily add that to things, and make use of your freezer as well, because if you go in the frozen section, there's a ton of different veg and they're all prepared for you. You know, they're chopped and whatever, so if you're busy, it's quite good to make use of that. And then it just means that every time you cook, say lunch, dinner, whatever, you can just shove a different veg in each time.
Yeah.
And that's quite good if you're doing like a one pot or a curry or a stew or stir fry. You know, those are kind of dishes that are really easy just to whack anything in, really.
Yeah, again, it's interesting you mentioned about the frozen veg. I've never done that before, but again, when everyone was sort of stockpiling food at the supermarket, remember there was a moment where there was just no food, and I kind of went to the freezer because in that moment I thought, okay, let's see, there might not be any food for next week, and I found some really nice mixed veggies that weren't just your plain, your normal like little chopped carrots. They actually had, you know, the onions in it, the aubergine, you know, it's a real lovely eclectic mix of veg that I actually just pop in the oven now, 20 minutes, and it's done.
Supermarkets, you know, they want to make your life easy, so they different ranges. So they'll have like a Mediterranean veg mix, they might have an Asian veg mix. So if you're making like a Thai red curry or green curry or something, then if you've got the Asian mix of veg, you can just whack them in, and you're probably having a load of different ones that you wouldn't normally have. And they also do mushrooms. If you like mushrooms, there's a frozen mushroom selection as well, ready chopped and everything. So you can just put a handful in. And that really does help you to increase your exposure to a wide range of nutrients, and also to eat the rainbow, because that's another kind of one of my food habits. It's eating the rainbow, and it's something that a lot of people advise, but it can be quite difficult to do. But just try and have veg with every meal if possible. And if you're switching to a savoury breakfast, then you'll be able to do that, and really try and focus on the veg over the fruit, just because there's a lot more vitamins, minerals and things, and not the sweet factor as well that you'll get with the fruit. And it's not to say that we're very good at eating more fruit, but it's difficult for veg.
I'm just talking on that sweet factor. I hope you don't mind. I just realised there's a question earlier on talking just that, and you and I have spoken about this too. How to break sugar addiction? Should we go cold turkey or gradual removal? If gradual, what gets eliminated first? You and I have spoken as well about this.
So it depends on what type of person you are, really. I think it's easier to have a detox from sugar completely, and to just say, right, 2 weeks nothing, and cut off all sweet flavours. If you're the type of person who has a lot of sugar in your diet, that might be a real shock to your system, and it might be difficult if you rely on sugar. So I think if you're someone who does rely on sugar, then it might be easier for you to gradually remove it. But I am kind of like an all or nothing girl, so I'll always just ditch it. And actually, that was the first thing that I did when I was looking at my diet, was cut out sugar. And I did like an 8-week I Quit Sugar program, and that you were just cold turkey. But it's surprising how quickly your taste buds adjust, and how much you realise that sugar really does dull your taste buds, so that you then everything else tastes bland in comparison.
Yeah, when you talk about sugar, do you mean, Charlotte, that even things like honey, when we're talking fruit, you know, are we talking just refined, that white sugar, or are we talking about limiting actually other sources of other sources of sugar?
I mean, limiting all sources of sugar is only going to provide positive health benefits to your health and your fertility. But if you're going to use any kind of sugar or sweetener, then you want to be sticking to things like fruits, and because they come with other things. So obviously you get vitamins, minerals, fibre from fruit. So that's good. But you know, even honey, maple syrup, those kind of things, you want to be they're real flavour highlights. So you want to be using like 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon maximum porridge, for example. So if you're having a couple of teaspoons of honey, that's probably a bit too much, really. And the other thing is when you are cutting back on sugar, just to make sure that you're eating enough fat and protein, because that's going to keep you full and satisfied. Whereas if you're not eating enough fat and protein, then you're probably going to have blood sugar lows, and then you'll be craving sugar and reaching for the sugar.
So can we actually begin to explore fat as a friend, not a foe?
Yes, fat is definitely our friends, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that it got vilified so badly, but fat's very important for your fertility. It's really important for making your hormones, your female sex hormones, and also it's an important component of your cell membranes as well. And your cell membranes, obviously, they control the transport things in and out of your cell, but also they seat your receptors for your hormones as well. So you want to be eating enough fat, and that's often a thing that when clients come to see me, they're eating a lot of fat-free things, or skim milk, fat-free yogurt, and actually you need to be embracing that fat rather than vilifying it, really.
Yeah, and so examples of good fats, perhaps, like say, I mean, I think avocado's one, isn't it? Maybe a goodie.
That's no unsaturated fat, so avocado, olives, olive oil, fat. And trying to make sure you get a variety of the different fats. The other really important fats are the omega-3 essential fats, because you have to get those from food.
Right.
And the most important source of omega-3s is oily fish.
Okay. So like salmon, oily fish like salmon.
So it's the ones that most people don't like, unfortunately. That is the most well-liked. Some people like mackerel as well. And there's trout, which often people just the word trout and they run a mile, but trout, sardines as well. So those oily, they're kind of more fishy fish. But salmon tends to be the one that people find palatable. So that's a good place to start.
And would there be a limit to the salmon? Is it still fished 2 or 3 times a week, or is it okay to maybe have it a bit more, or especially?
Yeah, I don't see a problem in having it 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
And also just trying to increase your variety. So starting off with salmon and then maybe trying some others. So mackerel or trout or sardines maybe.
And say that we really don't like fish. Obviously, is there anything in a supplement or supplements that could help support us as well? Maybe not in the same way, but could that be another option for us?
Yeah, so ideally you get it from food. So food is going to be the best source, but from fish oil supplements. So my favourite is Bare Biology.
Sorry, what's it called? Just
Bare Biology.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the brand, and they sell. It's called Lionheart, so they'll do a liquid one, which is the ideal one, and it's in a lemon sort of oil.
Okay.
So you can have you take a teaspoon of it every day.
Okay.
Dinner, say, and it's not that bad. I mean, it is weird, kind of having a teaspoon of oil. But if you really don't like that, you can they do maxi capsules as well. That's the second best option.
Yeah, and I guess you could put it in a smoothie, say if you did. I mean, sometimes people don't have time to make a smoothie, but that could be a nice addition, couldn't it? Maybe.
Or a dressing. Sometimes
or a dressing, yeah.
You could put it on your salad.
Yes.
With a bit of olive oil and some like turmeric.
Yeah, brilliant idea. So just before we go on, does anyone have any questions for Charlotte at all that they'd like her to share with us? She's obviously shared lots of tips so far on our journey, just in general well-being and the fertility journey, of course. I think we're all very unique and individual in our eating, and we do and don't like certain things, but I think it's just what you were saying earlier on as well, as about the mindful eating and just not turning eating into either a must do or as a kind of as a guilty experience. Right? That's what you kind of suggest for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Food is to be enjoyed, so make sure that you're enjoying it and eating mindfully, and trying to focus on eating when you're eating, because if you're doing other stuff, then that's going to impact on your digestion. So and really making it a social thing. Eating with other people is joyful.
Yes, absolutely. And we've got a lovely question here. So does gluten dairy affect fertility? in terms of PCOS?
Well, it depends on the individual, really. So for some people, gluten and dairy are not ideal, and for other people can tolerate it. So it's not something I can kind of give a blanket answer to, because it really is dependent on the individual. Some people can tolerate it, some people can't.
Sure. And herbal supplements for fertility?
So I'm not trained in herbs, so I can't really comment on that. And also with regards to supplements as well, it really requires one-to-one kind of consultation to be able to give a supplement, because again, everyone is individual. What works for one person, what one person needs, another person is need. So
yeah, sure, absolutely. So Charlotte, if any of us would like to contact you, where can we find you, and maybe what's the sort of things that you've done recently? If you've done something recently that you'd like to share, please do feel free to share it with us.
Yeah, so just head over to my Instagram. If you could hit on the link in the bio, there's you can either visit my website where there's a ton of recipes, or if you're interested in working with me, then there's a tab for booking a consultation, and that will always start with a discovery call. So it's a free kind of no obligation chat over Zoom, and we just get to know each other, see if we're right to work together. So if someone wants to work with me, that's an option. Otherwise, just on Instagram, Facebook as well, or if you've got a question, feel free to email me.
That's wonderful, Sharla. I want to thank you so much. That's been a real insight for me as well. And certainly veggies in the morning for breakfast is a new one, the leftovers. I like that. I'm going to hold on to that, Sharla. That was brilliant. Thank you so much once again. Thank you to everyone for listening, for watching. Next, we've got Laura up in a little while, so please stay tuned. And Sharla, I hope to see you very soon. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye now. Thank you. Thank you.